So I start getting this revelation of, okay, so God is not this conceptual fantasy, but is real. Like there's an actual God that has like created stuff and has been working to get me to this point, to this place, to this hour.
All right, this is Casey. Yeah, we're in the coronavirus pandemic, to tell you the truth. So, as I'm outside, it's been said, cover your face. So, it's not actually why I'm doing this. I was just outside and went for a long walk, and it's a little chilly today. That's what happens before it gets to be summertime. Yesterday was 65, today's like 40. It is what it is. I'll start with who I was. So, growing up, grew up in Nebraska. Lived some other places, but that's primarily where I'm from. I'm from Omaha. So by the time I was 18, I was in with the wrong crowd. So I had some really good friends, some friends with some really good people. But the people that I was really hanging with had an agenda. And we were going to be like organized crime drug dealers. And we were going to make money. We were going to have girls. We were going to have parties. It was going to be awesome. Awesome's probably not the right word for it. In any event, we ended up not doing that. One of my best friends got murdered. I don't share that with a lot of people. But he was in Colorado. One thing led to another. Murder. Okay. So at that point, I start thinking, you know, this idea of like becoming some sort of, I don't want to say mob boss because I didn't want to be like violent, but I certainly wanted all the money and all the girls and all the partying. So that seemed like kind of a bad idea, you know, because you're like, I don't want to be murdered. I really don't want to know anyone else that gets murdered. That's really not very fun. So I'm at college, 18 years old, and I just dive head over heels into more drug use, more drinking, like heavy drinking. It's not rare for a college kid, right? But that's what I did. So I get kicked out of college. They were like, we love you, but it would be better if you didn't go here. They're probably smarter than, to be honest with you. So back at home, working at McDonald's, I'm out of that game now. Still doing a lot of drugs, still drinking a lot, but I have no plans on organized crime and selling drugs anymore. I just don't want to be that guy. So my parents get an opportunity to move to Illinois. My dad has a tremendous job opportunity. They take it. Now my choice is, do I stay there and just screw off for the rest of my life? Or do I start over new? So I think, you know what, heck with it. By this time I was 20. I'm gonna go to Illinois. I'm gonna start over. It's a smart thing to do. You know, I'll start fresh and it'll be awesome. So that's what I did. Came to Illinois. Just outside Chicago a little ways. A little town called Streamwood. That's where I've been ever since. Not Streamwood, but that area, the northwest or western suburbs of Chicago. That's where I've been. Okay. Time to chill. Sit down for a moment. So now I'm in Illinois. Turns out, when you move somewhere with no purpose and no friends, it's very easily, that's what I was going to say, but it's very easy to get depressed. That's what happened. So I was going to school, but I was going to community college. And everybody I met, man, they were just not my kind of people. You know, I'd hung out every once in a while, and I just, you know, you're like, oof, not my kind of people for whatever reason. It's not who I'm hanging out with, I'll tell you that much. Even though super depressed, no friends, that's what it was. I had one friend that actually moved here from from my school, my hometown, Omaha, but he lived about an hour away, and we'd get together every once in a while. But he wasn't in a good situation. He ended up moving back to Nebraska after a little bit. Relationship he was in kind of crumbled. Probably should have. You know, we're young and stupid, right? But anyway, so now here I am, living in Illinois. Depressed. It was terrible. I did not enjoy that. I started searching, like, what is the purpose in life? Because it can't be just sucking every day. Like, okay, so there's 30, 31 days in a month, and then, okay, so 4 or 5 of those days are terrible, and you kind of wish you'd never been born. Maybe one of those days, 2 of those days is really good. This is what I was going through, right? It's really good days, and like, oh man, thank God I was alive to be a part of whatever happened that day. It was so awesome. Then the rest of the days just kind of come and go, and nothing to remember, nothing happened. It was just a day came and gone. I'm thinking, that can't be the extent of what life is. Are you kidding me? So I start searching. What's the meaning of life? What's my purpose? There's got to be more. I think at least I was in my head and searching, not just like hung up and just giving up and deciding things are just what they are. But I had a problem. Those things that I thought I was getting away from by moving to Illinois, the drinking and the drugs, turns out you don't run away from those things, because they're actually inside of you and they're a part of you, and they don't just go away. So I started drinking a lot more. Now I'm just drinking by myself, so that's a lot of fun. And I met a few people that I knew I could get some weed and whatnot through. But I was also paying premium on that, so that wasn't the best. Because I didn't really know anybody, but these were people that would find a way to hook me up a little bit. But I finally ended up finding some people I really liked. Like, I ended up working at a Blockbuster Video. And a guy there, Andrew, still his name. And turns out his father's a pastor of a church. Okay, interesting. So he doesn't hang out with me. We don't go drinking or smoking weed together, because he doesn't do that. It's the weirdest thing. But he's got a couple of brothers. And man, they did like doing that. And they were smart guys. Like, I really started hanging out with them. And I really enjoy their company. Like, I like people that I can have, meaningful conversation with. What's the meaning of life and whatever. Like, it wasn't just superficial stuff. So we started hanging out all the time. Now I start buying some weight when it came to my drugs, because now I can supply some people, and now my drug use is basically free, because I'm buying enough that I can sell enough that covers my next buy. So I don't want to be a big time drug dealer anymore. Like, that's not a dream of mine. But I do want to do drugs. I do want to do them for free. So I figured, this is perfect. Like, I finally have friends. I'm not paying for my drugs. Oh man, still drinking a ton. This is the life. But I would still sit in my bed at night, or early in the morning, or whatever time it would be. When you're alone and you're thinking, and you're going through what you've done, what you're gonna do, and you have regrets. Man, if only I'd done such and such. You worry about the things you didn't do, or the things that you should have done, or the things that you did that you shouldn't have. Well, you know what I mean. And I still didn't have any answers. I was still basically lost. Nothing that I searched out, nothing through alien abductions or whatever. I went down so many different rabbit holes, and I never found anything. I read some interesting stuff, whatever, but nothing that like gripped me. It made me think, oh my God, the truth. It's just, so I knew I was still searching, and that would keep me up at night, because you still have this thought of, what is the purpose of life? I'm at least out of my depression, but I still don't have purpose. So it's really not that great still. Yeah.
Okay. So, now I've got friends. But I'm still looking for something. So, spring of my 22nd year of life, so May something or other, just before Mother's Day, I'm taking a class at school, comparative religions. And one of the assignments we have is go to a religious thing and write a paper about it. So the only stipulation was, look, if you grew up going to St. Mary Mother, Catholic, whatever, don't go to church again on Sunday and write your paper about that. Go somewhere different. Go to a Buddhist temple or a Hindu temple or a whatever. The point was, get out of your comfort zone, get out of what you know, and experience something else. Comparative religion. That was the class. So, this guy Andrew and his brothers that I'd been hanging out with a bunch, their dad's a pastor of this church, and, I knew they had like a set of drums, and they had people that played guitar during their choir time. I'd never seen anything like that. Well, in movies, TV, where people would raise their hands and say amen and hallelujah. Weird. But I figured, you know what? This is not a bad way to get my assignment done. At least I'll know somebody there. I'll have somebody to sit next to. So, cool. I'll go there. Now, it happened the night that I decided to go. I think it was like a Thursday night, because they do church in the middle of the week. Wednesday night, maybe. Weird, right? Like, who does that? It might have been a morning. I don't remember for sure. No, it was a Sunday. It was a Sunday morning. And they happened to be doing a conference. They called the conference Wind and Fire. And they had two preachers there. Of course, I didn't know who they were. Never heard of them. It was a Dr. Roy Hicks and a Dr. George Evans, along with the pastor, Pastor Ed Weiss. Well, later on I find out that Dr. Roy Hicks, Dr. George Evans, pretty remarkable people when it comes to like the kingdom of God and the church of this day. So the fact that like my first service, I got to have these two guys speak right at me, I didn't understand the privilege that I had. But anyway, that's not what it's about. So this old guy, 80 whatever years old, Dr. Hicks gets up there and he's doing his service and he's hitting me. Like, I think probably he knows us. Obviously, my friends have told him every intimate detail about my personal thoughts that I have when I'm laying in bed at night and that I've never shared with anybody. Somehow they clued into what these problems were that I was having, these doubts and these fears and these questions that I had that I was looking for answers on. They knew what these questions were. Somehow. And they told this old guy, because that's what they would talk about. Like, he would come and visit and they'd be like, hey, this random guy, we're going to share every detail of his life with you. Yeah, so obviously that didn't happen. And yet he was hitting me. The questions that I had about life, about my future, about purpose, he answered them. And it was ridiculous. Like, I was like shaking. Because how does this work? And he's like, this is, and I think he's talking directly to me, but there's a whole congregation there, right? He's just preaching. And he said, this is how God works. He'll speak directly to your problem. Or he'll speak directly to your problem. All in the same service, in the same sentence even, or in the same verse, Bible verse that is shared. It says something different to you, and different to you, and different to you, and different to you. And every one of those differences is timely and the answer for what you need right then. So I start getting this revelation of, okay, so God is not this conceptual fantasy, but is real. Like, there's an actual God that has like created stuff and has been working to get me to this point, to this place, to this hour. And he says, anybody who would like to give their life to Christ. And he says, this is how you sit, this is what you say, this is what you do. If you really mean it, raise your hand and come up front. And me and I don't know, a couple other people went up front. And this is what I found out. Because I did get born again that day. And this is what I found out. When you get born again, the thing that changes inside of you is going to be so amazing and something that you can't deny in and of yourself. That's the proof that it's real. So it wasn't that moment. Like I didn't burst into sweat and like my hair stood on end and then lightning shot out of my fingertips. There's nothing weird, right? I just did it and it was what it was. But over the next bunch of days, the way my mind changed, I wasn't brainwashed in terms of like somebody who had to pin me down and put all these thoughts in my head. No. My brain was washed in terms of cleansed in an instant. Like that was the part that amazed me. Is I literally at that moment changed it so drastically that it had to be a supernatural thing. And I tried to change numerous times before. Nothing. Still drugs, drinking, women, you name it. But this time was different. My whole mind changed. My addictions didn't necessarily leave me immediately. I still had to fight through some of that stuff. But my mind, I finally had peace. I finally had direction, and I finally had the thing I was looking for, truth. So that was my salvation. I was 22. I'm 43 now, so it's been a couple of summers since then. One thing I've never done, given up, gone back, decided this wasn't for me. This wasn't it was a decision, right? But it wasn't like I decided I was going to eat broccoli and I didn't like it. Now I'm never eating broccoli again. Now this decision altered me so profoundly that my forever changed. And that's what salvation does. That's what God does. He comes in and he alters you. And you should never go back to what you were. You can, like some people do that. But I didn't grow up in church. I grew up in just a normal everyday life. And I had gotten to the point where I needed truth. I needed something that gave me direction. That wasn't just a job, and it wasn't just politics, or it wasn't just sports, and because all that's cool and all, but that's not eternal. It wasn't my answer. That's for dang sure. But Jesus Christ, him crucified, made a way. Says why do I get to be a person of God? Why do I get to be part of his kingdom, his lineage? Because I'm not his chosen people. I'm not a Hebrew by blood. But 2,000 years ago, something happened. And even the people, like I was reading in the Gospel of Mark, and Jesus was healing the sick and cleansing people with skin disease and getting people set free who had demonic attachments to their lives. So he was doing all this stuff, and the whole place was amazed. And the cities and the towns were being turned upside down. And even the people were like, there's never been a day like this. This is a day like none other. There's never been a day like this. And what's funny is I hear that right now. We're going through this COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. And it's true. There's never been a day like this. Not in my lifetime, not in anybody that's alive. There's not been a day like this. But 2,000 years ago, there's never been a day like this. And God did a mighty work and altered and changed the world forever. So yeah, this pandemic might be something that's never happened before, unprecedented. Not might, is. But God can do something amazing. He did it in my life. He altered me, a guy who had no reason to deserve any of it. He did it for me. So can he do it for this neighborhood? Can he do it for this city? Can he do it for this country? This globe? Yeah, absolutely. He's done it. He's done it. So that's my salvation story. All right, be good.